After being suggested over and over and over and over again by so many people in the comments of my videos that I do something with One Piece, I finally started getting into it. Admittedly, I was also partially prompted by the fact that it recently had its 1000th episode, so I figured now was a decent time to jump in. So today I'm going to try two new things on the channel. I'm going to do a full episode around One Piece characters and turning them into mythical gods. It's not something I've tried on the channel, but I had some decent ideas, so I think this could be fun. Let's see how it goes, shall we? Let's go. Hit like if you want, subscribe if you feel like, but either way, enjoy the show. Over the centuries, various parts of the world have been watched over by different pantheons of deities. The ancient Greeks had the Olympians, Nordic Vikings had the Asgardians, but those are only some of the more well-known gods that have reigned over people of our world. The ones that intrigue me most are those that have been forgotten by many modern people, ones who are just as mighty, if not more so, but for whatever reason have not been kept in public knowledge. Through my research into various lost cultures, I've come across one particularly fascinating group of deities that were worshipped by pirates of the 16th century. Of course, some different pirate clans had varying ideas about what gods existed and their stories, but so far as I can tell, here are the myths and legends of three of the core members of the pirate pantheon. One that was heavily referenced by many of the most infamous swordsmen of the times was Zorro, the god of blades. Prior to a duel or a raid on another ship, many pirates would pray to Zorro for their blades to strike true and the foresight to predict enemies' swings. He is portrayed as a green-haired, muscular man with a cascade of blades constantly spiraling around him. He was said to be the keeper of the Meito blades, a collection of swords of exceptional godly quality. If a swordsman proved himself worthy, Zorro would appear before them and grant them one of these blades. The infamous pirate Dracul Mihawk was said to be one of the fabled few to be granted a sword by the god. He was given the blade Yoru, with which he slayed countless enemies. Some even claimed in the myths that Zorro was so impressed by Mihawk's might that he trained with him, and that the scar that runs over the god's left eye came about by the blade of Mihawk. This was not a widely recounted tale and may very well be false, but it would make sense seeing as how only a blade granted by a god would be capable of wounding a god, at least by mortal hands. Zorro was also said to come down from the heavens to help those worthy in some of their greatest battles. In combat, he is often portrayed as fighting with 3 blades at a time, one in each hand and one in his mouth. And one of the swords he is most commonly shown wielding is Enma. This is a sword so powerful he was said to be able to slice an island in half with a single swipe of it. Legends about this mighty god are abundant, but one of the more intriguing tales is that of how he received his divinity. Something I'll elaborate on more in a moment, when we get to the tale of the god of pirates himself. Now, the reason I was really excited to do an episode where I was designing gods is because there wasn't really any one specific visual language that came to mind for what a deity should look like. I mean, I had a lot of different ideas. The first image that pops to my head is kind of just a person in white flowy robes, but I was trying to think along the lines more so of a video game god. So I was looking at inspiration of concept art for the video game Smite, which I haven't really played, but I like the look of a lot of the characters in it, and it's very mythology based. Then I was looking at things like God of War and a whole bunch of different stuff, and one of the ideas that really stuck in my head even before I looked at any reference images was a god having stuff kind of circling around behind them or spilling out behind their back. And I don't really know why that came to mind, but when I was looking at lots of different reference images, it seemed like that was a fairly consistent thing through a lot of different designs. So for this one, I had the best idea for that because he was the god of blades or swords, so just having a ton of different swords spilling out from behind his back, some kind of floating in his hands, obviously inspired by some of the designs from One Piece. And then with his hair, I guess I kinda made it a little bit Dragon Ball looking, which I think that could be a fun episode too, taking One Piece characters or characters from other things and making them Super Saiyans, but I bet that's been done a whole bunch of times by people on YouTube. Still though, it could be fun for me to do an episode on that. But anyway, I also thought about not giving him any scars because a god wouldn't necessarily have scars, but I feel like I figured out an okay way to work it into the lore why a god would have scars, and I feel like any god of a pirate would have more wounds on them because they value combat, or just, I don't know, that maybe that thought doesn't really make sense, but that was something that was kind of spiraling around my head while I was designing this one. Super happy with how this one turned out. I hope you all like it as well. Maybe I shouldn't have put it first because I do think it's cooler than the next two drawings, but I do like how all three drawings in this episode turned out. But anyway, let's take a look, shall we? Now, in many mythologies, gods were either born as gods or said to have simply always existed since the dawn of time itself. 16th century pirates, however, believed their gods were mortals granted divinity by the pirate god himself, a being who himself only gained divinity through consumption of a sacred fruit. As a child, a boy named Luffy consumed the Gamu Gamu Nomi, a devil fruit that granted him divine power and eternal life so long as there were pirates around to worship his might. The fruit he ate had been said to have been stolen from a powerful but corrupt government by a band of pirates, and the tale was used to encourage other pirates to make daring plays at stealing from governing bodies. There were other devil fruits said to be out in the world that could grant the consumer various abilities, but none would grant divinity, as the Gamu Gamu Nomi had to Luffy, god of the pirates. It was said, though, that if you worked hard enough, explored far enough, and proved yourself to be a truly worthy pirate, Luffy would grant you a lesser devil fruit and give you incredible powers that you could use for the rest of your days as a mortal before living amongst the gods in the heavens after your death. He has been portrayed in various forms. Some painted him as a massive, rotund man with purplish skin, some as a skinny man with a devilish grin. The one constant, though, is his portrayal as wearing a straw hat halo that hovers around and over his head, said to be a transformed version of the hat given to him by the pirate captain who'd initially stolen the fruit that gave Luffy his power. He's also shown to be an incredibly mighty warrior. While you'd expect a pirate god to fight with a sword, like Zorro, Luffy fights with his fists and feet, which can stretch so far, it's said he could scratch his own back by reaching his arm around the world. Various depictions of his abilities have shown him punching with such might that he can destroy full cities in a single strike. He was said able to expand any part of his body to massive size, and is seen in some imagery to have a fist and forearm grown to the size of a large ship. And of course, one of the most notable things about the god of pirates is how he was able to grant some select others divinity as well. This is how other gods such as Zorro came to join the pirate god pantheon. In his early days, Luffy traveled the globe in search of others to watch over pirates as divine beings. Zorro was one of the first, but far from the only god Luffy brought amongst his godly crew. In a moment, we'll discuss another, the first goddess to join the pantheon. Now, this Luffy drawing was the actual first drawing I did for this episode, which you'll probably be able to tell that it was done earlier than the other ones because it's just a little bit less intricate. I don't mean that as a diss to this one, I still really like how it turns out, just, maybe a little bit less godly looking. One of the ideas I had going into this one was the halo version of the hat that was just kind of like, well, this is weird, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And that actually leads to why I wanted to do this episode. I mean, I've already talked about part of the reason, but I was thinking along the lines of the demon episodes that I've done on here recently, where in those I just feel totally free to add whatever visual element comes to mind and just throw it in because it doesn't really have to make sense. It's a demon. It's supposed to be kind of freaky and mysterious. And with a deity, like I said, there's not any one specific visual language that comes to mind, so I was like, okay, I can probably throw in some more just weird elements that come to mind while I'm working on it. Like the thing that spills over his shoulders, I don't really know what it's supposed to be, but I was like, feel like this could look cool, let's throw it in. And the rope kind of spilling out and going around his back, I was like, I don't know what this is, but let's put it in too. There was just a lot of freedom going into this one. Not quite as much as in the Demon series, because these still kind of had to look like people. I mean, maybe they didn't even really. Maybe I could have pushed things farther than I did. But still, there was a decent amount of freedom with this episode, and I really enjoyed that. And I think that might also just come from trying out different kinds of topics, like turning things into demons I hadn't done before, turning things into mythical gods I haven't done before, and gonna try and come up with some more things to turn things into. I'm very often trying to find new franchises to work with nowadays, but I don't super frequently find new things to turn things into. I default to dragons, monsters, superheroes a whole lot, and I want to expand that a little bit more. The last note about this one I'd say is just that I kinda wish, after doing this drawing, I watched a few more One Piece fight scenes where Luffy is going 4th gear, and I kinda wish I'd worked a little bit more of that into this design, but at the point I'm actually at in watching the anime, I haven't gotten anywhere close to that, so that's why it wasn't really coming to mind as much. But anyway, like I said, I'm still quite happy with this one, and I hope you all like it as well. Let's take a look. The final deity we'll discuss today is Nami, the goddess of weather and cartography. It was said prior to being granted divinity, she had single-handedly created a map of the entire globe. Once her godliness was granted, she became the deity pirates would pray to if they were lost at sea or found themselves in a treacherous storm. She would come before troubled ships and create a path of clear skies all along the trail the pirates were meant to follow. Sometimes she was even said to create a strong current that would push a ship of worthy pirates directly and swiftly to the destination they sought, or even to buried treasure they were unaware existed. She is shown as wielding a long staff that can separate into 3 segments. With this weapon, she is able to control the weather, shoot violent blasts of fire and lightning, and even create mirages of herself. While many stories about the gods are of them aiding pirates in their exploits, there are also stories about the gods punishing pirates, who are too cruel to innocent civilians. While there aren't exactly rules for what makes a good pirate, there are guidelines that if one strayed too far from could bring about the wrath of a god. One of the first tales of Nami was when citizens of the village of Kokoyasi were in serious danger. A band of cruel pirates took over the village as it had little in the way of defenses, and they demanded that the people pay massive fees to be kept safe on a regular basis. If someone couldn't pay, they were killed. Villagers prayed and prayed for any of the gods to come to their rescue, but it was Nami who eventually heard and responded to their pleas. Nami tried to reason with the pirates at first, by creating a trail of clouds in the sky that would lead them directly to long-lost treasure worth far more than what they could get from this town in a year. But the pirates ignored the signs and stayed behind, tormenting the village. Nami then brought through a torrential storm, but one that only affected the pirates. Winds rocked through the village, leaving all citizens and their homes safe, while blowing all the pirates away, hurling them into the deep sea, where they all eventually drowned. While there were many more tales of the gods, and more gods themselves prayed to by 16th century pirates, these 3 discussed today had by far the most tales of their greatness and their might. Now this drawing, I really like the finished result and how it turns out, except for the fact that it doesn't really look like Nami. I figured it would be easy to make it look like her because she's an anime character, she doesn't have super complicated face and hair, but still, there's just something about her eyes that didn't really work, and maybe it's my rendering, I don't know, it just doesn't totally look like her. I don't think you'd recognize it as her at a glance. It probably also doesn't help that I made her breasts a lot smaller than Ichiro Oda draws them. I mean, they're still probably the largest breasts I've ever drawn on the channel, but nothing compared to how big he does them, so maybe the proportions on this one don't really help. But still, like I said, I do like how the drawing turned out. I went a little bit more of regular Greek mythology sort of inspired design for the god with sort of the flowy white outfit, and then I expanded on her tattoo more, having it go across more of her body up onto her face, and I think that's a cool element that adds some nice detail to this piece. I also had, like in the Zorro drawing, having something spiraling around behind her, but in this case it's her staff spilling out different elements, and it's not as intricate as the blades in the Zorro piece, but I do think it's a pretty nice element, and it also helps with framing her face more, which I think adds to the piece. I also think the background looks the nicest in this one, which is funny because it looks almost the exact same as the background I was ripping off from Patrick Brown, because this one is actually the same colors he was using. I also did have some ideas for doing Sanji as the god of cuisine, but my ideas weren't fleshed out enough, and I was kind of running short on time, so I figured if I did do another drawing, it was just gonna turn out kinda meh and rushed. So I left it at 3, but like I've said before, I'd rather do 3 good ones than 4 kinda rushed ones. Hope you all like our One Piece gods. Let's take a look at the last one. Alright, One Piece fans, let me know, how did I do for my first full One Piece episode on this channel? This isn't technically the first time I've worked with any One Piece characters. I did do an episode a while back where I took famous anime characters and rewrote them and redesigned them if they were in other animes, and I worked with Luffy in that episode, putting him in One Punch Man. I think that's a pretty fun episode from what I remember, but it was a while ago. If you're new to the channel, maybe you want to go check it out. Or any of my other anime-focused episodes, like my My Hero Academia characters as dragons ones. And of course, if you have any other suggestions for what One Piece characters I should work with in the future, or what else I could do with them, or what other franchises you might want to see turned into mythical gods, let me know in the comments. But besides that, that's all for today, except of course for ending this video on a positive note. And today I want to leave people with a thought on trying to figure out what you want to do with your life, or trying to find your dream job. Now that I've been running this channel full-time for a little over 2 years, I feel like I've definitely found my dream job, but it really took me a long time to figure out what I actually wanted to do. I tried out a whole bunch of different jobs that seemed like they might have been what I wanted, but it turned out they weren't. So if you feel like you've been trying to figure out what you want to do with your life for a while, just remember that you can fail and fail and fail and fail over and over and over again, but you only have to be right once. And personally, I'd say it is so worth going through all those failures. Hope that's helpful to someone out there. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I love you all, and I will see you all in the next episode on Friday. Goodbye.